the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app, streaming live on YouTube too at the Team 980, where you don't hear the intro music. You only hear that if you listen to the radio or the Odyssey app. How do we feel about Lil Wayne right now, Anthony?
Did you listen to his album?
No, I heard it was awful.
Yeah, that might have been one of the worst projects he's ever put. It's not even one of. That is the worst he's put out.
Drugs
No
are bad,
question.
kids. They have long-term repercussions. It
Yeah,
seems
that
that
was
perhaps Wayne's lyrical abilities got washed away in Purple Drink.
Yeah, it was bad. I texted my friends one of his lyrics, and I was like, "No, he didn't really just say this.
Yeah,
He didn't really just say that."
yeah. It's peak Wayne, like Carter 3, Lil Wayne. Is like Carter 3 is one of the best albums of the last 30 years, 40 years, ever. That album is a masterpiece. Just the lyrics, the variety, the music, like all of it. And the Carter 6 is not, from what I have been told, /
Not good.
everything that I've seen. So there's that. That's not what we're going to talk about today. What we are going to talk about today here on the Hoffman Show is the latest from Commanders camp. And you probably saw a pretty scary headline earlier today that Noah Brown was carted off the field at camp. And this is the kind of thing you just dread. I mean, I'll never forget when Reuben Foster went down all those years ago on one of the first days. I think it was like the first play of 11 on 11 in the spring. It was, just brutal, even though, Foster had a odd history, to say the least, a pretty rough history in how he wound up here. But you still you see a guy go down and it's brutal. And so you hear like Noah Brown carted off. How bad is it? Well, Ben Standig was on Grant Danny a little bit earlier, and I think this is actually encouraging to hear, because it sounds like it's not like he clearly broke his leg and was getting carted off because of that. I'll set it up that way.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's hard to know exactly what happened, but basically he made a catch over the middle. It was like a sort of a low throw, and he went down to the ground, secured it, no big deal. But you could tell in the way he hit that something happened. To what degree, who knows? He stays down for an extra 2, 3, 4 seconds. The training staff comes out. He does eventually get up and slowly walks off the field, but then they decide to cart him over to the building. And, like I said, it's hard to tell exactly what stood out a little bit was when he gets to the building with the cart kind of rolls over sort of like a little bump out there. And at that moment, he kind of let out a scream. We were all sort of standing right there. And we don't know if it's a scream out of frustration, if it's a scream out of the bump did something to him. I can't say for sure. But, yeah, the whole thing was, jarring. You've seen this before. Some guys, it seems like a disaster, and then it turns out
it's not that bad. So we're going to have to see what this deal is with Noah Brown. This is a guy that, especially because it sounds like, he hit, like is something wrong internally. That thought comes to mind because of what happened to him last year and the significant scary injury that caused him to miss the back half of the season. And so that is obviously a bit of a scare. How bad is this? Is this something that by the time they get back on the practice field tomorrow, he's joining them for what's going to be a pretty light practice? Or is he not on the field until July when they go for training camp? Or is he going to start the season on PUP and we're not going to see him until October or November? We don't know at this point. And so what I play that and say all that to say, let's not have a collective freak out yet, because you hear guy carted off and I think next thought is, season's over. That said, with Terry McLaurin not in camp with the contract and Debo being kind of a specialty type of player, and Michael Gallup has also missed the last couple of days with a hamstring issue, which he had plenty of when he was in Dallas, and we have no idea what Gallup is as a player. It's a reminder that this receiver room, it's not even that this receiver room is super thin and it gets real thin real fast. It's that this is the nature of the NFL. Like, there's no team in the league that can lose 3 or 4 guys at one position and be like, yeah, we're still killing it. Maybe if it's a D line, you have some options. If it's an offensive line and you got some quality depth, yeah, the drop off is less noticeable. But at a position like receiver, you don't get to have 4 number 2 receivers on your roster. Nevertheless, multiple number 1s. So obviously Terry, we expect to be here, but all of a sudden it's like, wait, who's lining up outside? Are they lining Luke up out there? And then you get into some interesting names of some guys who have actually played pretty well in the last couple weeks. I mean, one guy that you might not even know is on the team is Chris Moore. Chris Moore is 6'1", 200. He's 31 years old in his 9th year out of, or entering his 10th year. He's got 9 years experience out of Cincinnati. And he should be killing the undrafted free agents and late depth chart guys. If you've made it, if you're good enough to be 10 years into your career, like I would hope that you have some good numbers. I mean, this is a guy who in his career total has 138 yards, 138 catches for 1,700 yards. His best year was 2022 with Houston, where he had 48 catches. Previous to that, his high was 21. He then followed it up with a 22 catch season in Houston in 2022, and then 2022 was the 48 catch season. 2023 had a 22 catch season, both those around 500 yards. And then he played last year on and off for Arizona. Long story short, like, he's an NFL player. Noah Brown's better. I hope that, I think in an ideal world for Adam Peters, all due respect to Chris Moore's probably not making the roster or is a veteran on the practice squad. So it's just a reminder of how fragile all of this is. Every team is one injury, one holdout, one whatever away from looking very, very different. And while Dan Quinn is going to do what he does and focus on the guys that are there, it is, I think, there's a version of this season that plays out ultimate positive. Michael Gallup is healthy and he's back and he looks like the early 2020s Michael Gallup, a dude that was going to get massively paid before he had the ACL injury. And, the year off, his speed is still there. He looks fresh and he's killing it opposite of Terry. Terry's happy with whatever happens with the contract. And Noah Brown is this big physical presence who's drawing PIs, blocking people, coming up with tough contested catches. Luke carves out a role. Debo's doing Debo stuff. And, this offense has weapons everywhere. There's also a version where Luke doesn't take a step. Debo's lost a step. Noah Brown and Michael Gallup are hurt. And Terry has some kind of downturn after not being there for the offseason. And that's going to put a lot on Jaden Daniels. And I tend to think we're a lot more towards the former than the latter. And I also think that Jaden Daniels is up for a lot. So we're gonna find out. But I think the point I think is most important here that I want to land on is, while Jaden was amazing last year, and I have full faith in him to continue to be amazing, part of what allowed him to be his best was they did not put as much on him as you can a quarterback, right? That's not to say that he's not capable of handling more and didn't get more capable as the season went. I am not trying to take anything away from Jaden Daniels. I am just acknowledging that he was a rookie who was treated like that, and that allowed, by surrounding him with talent and insulating him schematically, allowed him to show us the full brunt of his powers. And eventually, you can't make that happen because you have to pay him, and you're going to have to say, hey, man, we've gone from giving you a bunch of cushion to now you got to operate without that because we can't afford it anymore. But while you can afford it, you should. And that's part of the reason why I think this Terry thing needs to get done, and why the precariousness of the receiver position from an injury standpoint is on some small level a concern for me entering 2025, the more I think about it and the more we see the reality of Noah Brown has had an injury history. Michael Gallup obviously has an injury history, and how quickly that depth dissipates in the receiver room. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Streaming live on YouTube too at the Team 980. You can drop us a comment there. In the chat, you can also give us a call at 301-230-0980 if you'd like to discuss that. The other big thing that happened today was Marshon Lattimore spoke for the first time. Some interesting stuff from him. We'll talk more about Commanders minicamp before Kiki Iriafen joins us, the WNBA Rookie of the Month, at 4:30 here on the Hoffman Show. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Streaming live on YouTube, too, at the Team 980. JP Finlay is going to join us. He was out at Commanders minicamp, and JP will join us at 5 o'clock. His NBC4 colleague, Mark Segraves, was kicked out of a city council meeting. Kicked out of a city council meeting where they were discussing the RFK budgeting process. So we will ask Mark why he is so disruptive and what he learned by being a good reporter. Coming up at 5:30, again, Kiki Iriafen, the Mystics forward, reigning WNBA Rookie of the Month, joins us coming up at 4:30. But now more on Commanders minicamp. Marshon Lattimore spoke today. The first time we've heard from the former star cornerback, hopefully once again star cornerback, someone who the Commanders gave up a decent amount of draft capital for, and did so with the idea that not only would he hopefully help them last year, but he would definitely help them this year. I think it's worth remembering that the Commanders made some choices last year, and I talked about this quite a bit then, but I know plenty of you are new to the show, so I'll say this again now. The Commanders had so much they wanted to change. And by the Commanders, I mean Adam Peters and Dan Quinn. Had so much they wanted to change on the roster. But there were certain positions where they're like, let's at least play this out because there's only so much money to go around. There's only so many draft picks. We can't do everything we want. And for instance, at the cornerback position, we have guys that are at least intriguing. Benjamin St-Juste has the size and length that a typical Dan Quinn corner has. Actually was listening to DQ on Chris Long's podcast, and Chris Long was giving him a little bit of a hard time, being like, hey, man, you seem to have a type on corners. And DQ's like, sure do. He likes long, athletic, rangy guys with versatility, hence Trey Amos, who they were talking about. But on a build level, St-Juste fit that. And then there's obviously the ball skills element, and Emmanuel Forbes was drafted because of his ball skills. And so they decided last year, let's give these guys a shot. I think they found out pretty quick there's a reason why they hadn't been successful. And for Forbes, that was very, very quick. For St-Juste, they kept trying because he felt like he was so close. But then you realize, oh, he's at his ceiling. This is who St-Juste is, close but no cigar. And so they make the trade midseason for Lattimore as he becomes available at the deadline. And it just doesn't work. It just flat out, there's nothing else you can say about 2024. That book is closed. It didn't work in 2024. That doesn't mean it can't work in 2025. So after the trade last year, ultimately, the question is like, what did we see from Marshon Lattimore? Is this a guy that is what he is now? Or is there another level to unlock if he can get and stay healthy? Lattimore asked that today, says it's the latter.
Not really. I feel a little timid, just not like physically, like, not mentally like timid, but I can tell in my game when I watch film, I can tell how I'm stepping. I look timid, in my game. And now, just being out there for these past 2 days, I feel way better than I did last year.
So we hear it straight from him. Like, that's not who I am still capable of being. The proof will be in the pudding. He's ultimately going to put on pads and play, and he's now wearing number 2. So if you see corner number 23, that's not Lattimore. That is Amos, who you'll hear Lattimore's thoughts on in a second. Marshon getting the number 2 before the draft even happened, with Sainer still going to 0. Or actually, no, Mikey was 0 last year. So who had 2 last year? Diami had 2. So Diami moving on. Now Lattimore can get that number that he wants. Point is, numbers aside, fun facts aside, I think you saw a guy that was bouncing between timid and trying to compensate for it last year. Occasionally you're just like, man, he didn't attack that like I thought. Like, oh, I guess they're giving up that comeback route, or they're giving that up based off the coverage, because that's not as aggressive as I would have thought Marshon Lattimore played that. And then you also have the other side of that coin, which is at times you're trying to be over-aggressive because you can't run. You're trying to jam up a guy at the line of scrimmage or whatever it may be, because you don't trust your long speed. You don't trust your ability to stick with a guy down the field, and we saw him get beat plenty. So he never found out how to play at the state he was last year, which, if we want to be alarmist, we could say that is concerning moving forward, because he's eventually going to lose a step, and the question is, will he still be wearing burgundy and gold when that happens? That's the nature of athleticism in the NFL, and it's why the corner cliff is so steep that when corners lose it, it can go from like all pro to not playable like that. But ultimately, they're betting on the fact that this season he will be right and can be the guy that that we saw in New Orleans be one of the best corners in football. Here's more of Lattimore talking about the injury portion and how it affected his game last year.
Yeah, because I just wanted to prove that, they made the right decision, obviously. So I just want to get out there and show what I can do. But, I was hurt, but I don't want to make excuses. So I was out there, I was out there. If I was good enough to play, I can be evaluated on that. So, it is what it is. I just want to get out there this year, show what I can do.
And that's, that's the conundrum, right? Oh, I'm hurt. Do I go out there and try to be the best I can and see what can happen? Or do I simply, just say like, hey, sorry, y'all made the right decision, but you're not going to be able to see it yet because I'm not right. And he probably in hindsight should have just done the latter, tried to get out there, comes back out there. He's not him all of last year. And TBD whether he actually will be this season. We got a glimpse the last couple of days, but it's going to take until training camp and then obviously into the regular season to get a better sense. And it'll be fun once he and Terry are going at each other as well, if Terry's in training camp, which hopefully they get the contract done. And he is. Of course, they've already drafted the replacement / the complement to Marshon Lattimore, and that is Trey Amos, who is very impressive to Lattimore so far.
He got technique. His technique is there. He from right now, what I see as far as his technique, he look complete. He a rookie and it's early, but, throughout the season, I just feel like he's going to keep that up and get better as the season goes. And I'm excited to see, how he turn out.
Can never have enough good corners. And this is something where I think they already have a lot more depth. Like Lattimore is better than the two guys they had starting last year. I think there's a chance that Amos is better than the two guys they had starting last year. Obviously, sophomore Mikey in the slot is better than rookie Mikey in the slot, which is where Sainer still started last year, even though he ultimately moved inside or outside, and you have that as an option as a backup. Jonathan Jones, same thing. Is he inside? Is he outside? Either way, you have depth. Noah Igbenogany was their starting nickel for most of last year. If Jones is their fourth corner, that means Noah I is your fifth corner. And then you get to guys like Carlin Viggers, the undrafted free agent, who I know they liked quite a bit, and we'll see if he can make the club. Obviously, that'll be a big special teams question, amongst other things. They also have options with guys like Will Harris, who is going to be a starting safety, but can play a lot of nickel. You have all these Buffalo nickel types, the Dominique Hamptons, the Kane Madranos, etc. So it is an interesting group of pass coverers, let's say. But if Lattimore can be a dude, I mean, let's say he's borderline Pro Bowl, nevertheless the All-Pro that he was at times in New Orleans. If he is like in consideration potentially for the Pro Bowl by the end of the year, so he's had a good season, I think that changes the dynamic of this defense tremendously. And it might change with the opponent. Maybe A.J. Brown gets him, but he's able to guard other guys. Who knows? We'll see. Body types, etc., different skill sets, how those matchups go. But it changes your pass rush. It changes what you can do with the other guys, how many bodies you need in coverage, where you send your help, what kind of coverage structures you want to play. It's just so different if you have a guy on the outside. Like a guy on the outside changes your defense more than a premier pass rusher, more than a great linebacker. If you can shut down the other team's best option and then play 10 on 10, you are in a very, very different place than if you got to play 11 on 11, and the potential help has to be all over the place. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. When we get back, well, first of all, at 5 o'clock today, JP Finlay is with us talking ball, what he saw today out at minicamp, and we'll get JP's take on the Terry contract situation. 5:30, his colleague at NBC4, Mark Segraves, on the RFK latest. And then 6 o'clock, you'll hear from Lattimore, more, as well as from Bobby Wagner and Dan Quinn in our Pick 6 at 6. We'll preview the NBA Finals at 6:30. And next, our one other veer away from the Commanders today, reigning WNBA Rookie of the Month, Kiki Iriafen, joins us here on the Team 980. Hoffman Show from the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Of course, you're home for Mystics basketball. Next up, Sunday is the next game. You'll hear it here on the Team 980. And joining us now from the Mystics, the reigning WNBA Rookie of the Month, Kiki Iriafen. Kiki, congrats again on the award. And are you getting to enjoy, like, I know you guys got practice, but like a week between games, is this a luxury feeling right now for you?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for that lovely introduction. But it's been nice having no games for the past few days and just having an opportunity to, one, take care of my body, but then two, like, I feel like we haven't had team practice in a while, so it's nice for all of us to continue to work on our chemistry and kind of just fine tune some of the details. So I'm enjoying this week.
Yeah, for sure. Is this, I mean, that's a huge adjustment that I don't feel like is talked about a ton between college and the league, is just the kind of rhythm of a college season. You might play once a week, you might play twice a week, but there's a lot of practice time. In the league with the travel and the game schedule, there's actually not a ton of practice. So is that something that you were kind of ready for coming into the season, or has that been an adjustment of how do you keep working on your game? How do you develop that chemistry without all of the practice time that you get at the collegiate level?
Yeah, it's definitely been an adjustment, and I think the biggest thing at the pro level is learning on the fly. You know, some days we might have only one day of like prep in between a game, or no prep at all. You might have back to back. So really being able to study things on the fly, be able to learn things just from film. We don't always get an opportunity to walk through things. I think that's been the biggest adjustment. So for me, I've really just been really big on watching film. I meet with my coaches almost every day, watching film on myself and then my opponents. But yeah, I'd say the biggest thing is like you don't have as much time to prepare for one team as you would in college.
Kiki Iriafen with us here on the Hoffman Show. I know that one way that you've been trying to get better is the Breakfast Club. Jen Hatfield wrote a great story in the 9 about this the other day if folks want to learn the full story here. But can you tell our listeners, Kiki, about what the Breakfast Club is and how that has become a part of your routine here in the league?
Yeah, so Breakfast Club is Jade and then Coach Turner. Us three, every morning we meet like way before practice and we kind of just work on individual things, but then Jade and I having a big guard connection, just working on some pick and roll actions. But this has been something that has been super helpful for me, and I think Jade as well, and just giving us, one, confidence in the things that we're doing on the court, but then two, just making sure that her and I can have great chemistry together. And I think, you know, it's been showing when we're playing as well. But I think Breakfast Club is just an opportunity for us to focus on ourselves outside of the team. And we always have fun every morning. It's something that I look forward to. So shout out to Coach Barb Turner.
Shout out to Barb. Is there times in the game where like you and Jade will hit something or you get the screen angle just right, or she hits you perfectly with the pocket pass, whatever it is that you're like, oh yeah, that was from Breakfast Club? Like, do you have those moments? Do you talk about them on the bench?
Definitely. I think Jade does a better job of it than me just acknowledging Breakfast Club. She's always saying Breakfast Club or something that like an inside joke that no one would know unless you were at Breakfast Club. But Jade is great. She's such a great personality, has such energy, and such a selfless teammate. But definitely, like when her and I connect on things in the game or even in practice, we're always like Breakfast Club, Breakfast Club.
I love it. Kiki Iriafen, again, the WNBA Rookie of the Month with us here on the Hoffman Show. And I mentioned that again, Kiki, not just to gas you up a little bit, but the video that the team released after you won the award, and I won because you existed when you were told there in the team meeting room. But then when everyone's giving you the big speech, and then you're like, all right, I'll say something. And you said like, hey, you guys, my teammates have helped me find the joy of basketball again. What did you mean by that? Because you're someone that always looks like you're having a great time. You exude joy in so many ways, but this is also, I'm sure, a grind. Like you're in a long college season right into the W season. What did you mean by, you guys have helped me find the joy of basketball again?
Yeah, I think one, I'm super grateful that I got drafted to this organization. Since the day that I got here, they've made me feel like family, and I feel very, loved here. Especially since I've never left California, so moving across the country was kind of scary. But I think the biggest thing was my senior season was really tough for me, and I didn't always love basketball when I was playing. And I feel like since I've been here at the Mystics, I've kind of found my footing again. I've gotten back to Kiki in the way that I play basketball, which I think is just playing so freely. So I think that's the biggest thing, is that I have great teammates and coaches and a front office that allows me to be my authentic self.
And obviously it's been quite successful. That's how you get that Rookie of the Month, all the double-doubles, all those things. But Kiki, when I was watching, I think it was like the second game of the season, and I'm watching you and Sony, do what you're doing out there in a level that we just don't see from rookies in this league very often. It's a very, very difficult league. I'd say arguably from like a talent concentration standpoint, this might be the toughest league in any sport in the world. Such a small league with so much talent. And so rookies have traditionally struggled, and you've been able to come in, as has Sony, and produce at a high level. But have you been able to do it? This team has kind of needed it between the injuries to Aaliyah and Kira, and just kind of how the roster is constructed. I remember Jamila telling me before the season, like, we have the history of the league. So at what point did you, kind of not only find that confidence to do what you're doing, but maybe even you and Sony, I don't know if there's a moment where you look at each other or it's acknowledged by Sydney in a meeting where you're like, hey, we need you guys to be aggressive. We need you guys to score. So how did that mentality, that approach, that comp to be over this first month and change of the season?
Honestly, I think, coming in as a rookie, it can be very daunting, but Sony and I have a great communication, and we just talk to each other. So even before our first game, there's all the nerves and everything, but having someone that I was able to talk to and we're going through the same thing at the same time is honestly very comforting. But I think for us, like, our coaches don't put any pressure on us. Our vets don't put any pressure on us. They're just like, just go out there and play basketball, go out there and hoop. So I feel like that's been something that has allowed us to, play well, is because we're not afraid to make mistakes. Our coaches want us to make mistakes because we see them as learning opportunities. So I think it's truly just the environment that we're in. Like, yes, this is one of the toughest leagues in the world, if not the toughest league. And every single night we're going against the best of the best competition. But our coaches allow us to go out there and be fearless. Like, if you make a mistake, all right, the next time you're going to get it, you'll do it better. So I feel like that's the biggest thing, is that they've given us an environment that we can thrive in, that we can learn in, and we're not afraid to just go out there and play.
I love it. Kiki Iriafen with us on the Hoffman Show. Speaking of the vets, we saw that moment after the New York game where Steph Dolson has the entire team in the huddle. Obviously, a great performance on Sunday against Connecticut followed. What did Steph say in that huddle, and what did that moment mean to the team?
Oh my gosh, Steph is great. Steph is such a selfless teammate, and she's been great for me playing in the post position, and she's just always teaching me. Even during training camp when we were going against each other, she was still helping me out even though I was guarding her. So she just has such a humility to her that is very much appreciated by the team. But after the New York game, obviously the first time we played New York wasn't our best, but the second time we really gave them a game, and, they had to earn the win. And, we are still learning and still young, but we know that every game we're going to just get better and be able to close out games. And that she told us was like, don't put your head down. Like, we competed, we gave it our all. They're the best team in the league. They're the reigning champions for a reason. And we were still able to hold our own. So just use it as a learning opportunity. Use tonight if you want to be sad about it, cool. But the next day, it's like, we have another game. We have a new day. It's not the end of the world. So kind of just giving us confidence that, look, we can compete with the best of the best, and we're only going to get better from this.
Learning from people guarding you seems to be a thing that is not just Steph in training camp. I think I saw Stewie had a quote about like she's telling you a little something during the game. You told, you said in an interview recently, like going against Tina Charles was amazing, even though she's just my opponent when the ball goes up. Like talking to her during the game, well, it sounded like there was some knowledge exchange there. What's that been like to kind of to become a part of that WNBA sisterhood and have vets even on other teams kind of one say, hey, game recognized game, I see what you're doing, but two, a little tip for you for next time.
Yeah, definitely. Little Kiki is screaming like, wow, I'm competing against Stewie, Asia, Tina, BG, and, I'm able to hold my own, but also they're giving me advice while we're playing, which I think is probably the most remarkable thing that I've noticed since I've been in the league so far is like the vets are willing to, give me some help and give me some advice, even though they're still trying to bust me during the game. But I think that's just a testament to what the WNBA is. It truly is a sisterhood. Even though we're competing every single night, it's kind of like everybody wants to uplift each other, especially the vets with the rookies. I know Sony has some stories as well of, vets giving her advice and tips. But yeah, I think that's just the greatest thing is that even though I'm competing against a Stewie or a Tina, like they're still able to give me some help in terms of how I can get better in the league. So that's something that I've really appreciated since I've been here.
Do you ever just go like, I can't trust this. I'm not going to try it against you. Like there's no way like there's no way you're telling me how to beat you. Come on.
Definitely. I think the first time I ever experienced it was our first game when we played Atlanta. BG was giving me tips and like trying to tell me the rules and stuff. But I didn't really believe her because I was like, it's my first game. I can't mess up. I don't know if she's trying to throw me off. But since then, I've been able to kind of take in information and see what I'm going to listen to and what I'm not going to listen to.
I feel like Taurasi would have been the one who would have done that, who would have been like, told you all the wrong things during the game. And then afterwards been like, okay, so I just told you the opposite. That's really going to help you moving forward. But I was just trying to mess with you. So at least DT finally has hung up the shoes and you don't have to worry about her messing with you. Last things for Kiki Iriafen here on the Hoffman Show, Team 980. Of course, you're home for Mystics basketball. Kiki, last time we talked was Media Day. You had barely been in town. Have you had a chance to explore any you've been around and even maybe this week with the time off there?
So I haven't been able to, but I've been able to spend more time with my teammates. So like Sony and Georgia, we live together. So just hanging out with them. We're doing some stuff in the community this week with Ben's Chili Bowl. So I'm excited to just get to learn DC more, get to hang out with the community. But yeah, I think the biggest thing that I've loved since I moved to DC is just the love and support that we get from all fans. And they truly support us, win, lose, or draw. Even when I'm not making shots, I hear the fans in the crowd saying, you got the next one, Kiki. So I think that's just something I really appreciate. So I'm excited to just be more immersed in DC.
All right, we'll table a roommates game / come up with a roommates game for the three of you next time we chat. That is definitely going to happen. But I actually did want to close asking about the event at Ben's. It's a very, in a way, it's a place where you get hot dogs and hamburgers, but it is an immense historical site in the city. Like, do you know anything? You're excited to see the fans and that, but have you had a chance to kind of learn about the Ben's place in history in the city?
I have no idea. I've heard that it's a big deal and it's something that I should be very grateful to be a part of, which I am. But I'm just excited to meet people, show off the Mystics a little bit more, but I have absolutely no clue what Ben's Chili Bowl is.
It's a historic site because of who has eaten there over the years. The short version, I'm sure you will get a much better briefing. We're only on Wednesday here and the event's not till Friday. So folks can check out Kiki and some of her teammates at Ben's Chili Bowl with an event with the Mystics Friday. It starts at 4:00 if anybody wants to go. And I'm sure, Kiki, you'll get the full briefing before. Basically, this is a place that fed civil rights leaders, et cetera, during the civil rights movement and other historical figures over the years. So I'm sure you will enjoy learning the history and getting to be there. It's a cool spot. And I'm glad you're getting to do it and experience this so early on in your career in DC. And Kiki, as always, thanks for the time here on the radio. I'm sure I'll see you out at the arena soon and continued success on this great rookie season so far.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app, streaming live on YouTube too at the Team 980. And in 10 minutes, JP Finlay gives us the latest from Commanders minicamp after his day in Ashburn. Day 2 of Commanders mandatory minicamp, an eventful day. Noah Brown carted to the locker room. I feel like is a better phrasing than carted off. He walked off to a cart and then was transported up off the practice field on said cart. So if we learned anything in the couple of hours since that happened, we will get the latest from JP, as well as he'll chime in on the McLaurin contract situation, what he's seen from Marshon Lattimore, et cetera, et cetera. With the couple minutes we have before JP, though, it is time to go around. No, not Price is Right music. I hit the wrong button. No, they're not. That would be pretty funny, Anthony, if I just decided to spring a game on you. But instead, we're doing. Actually, it'd be even funnier as AMAC walks into the picture in the background. What if I just sprung a game on the two of you? What if I just? And maybe it wasn't the wrong button. If I just and we just. I don't have a game.
I guess we wouldn't be playing a game.
No, I would need a game. Ready? Well, here's the game. Ready? Who is Aaron Rodgers married to? You can stop thinking. We don't know. He just showed up to Steelers camp with a wedding ring on his finger, and everyone's like, "Is that a wedding ring?"
So that's a trick question.
I mean, kinda. He's married. There is an answer. Nobody publicly knows it yet, which just adds to the mystery wrapped inside an enigma, wrapped inside a surprise that is Aaron Rodgers. Interesting guy. As for actual football news that is around the NFL, a couple of things from around the league. I think the weirdest, outside non-Aaron Rodgers category, the weirdest thing that is happening in the NFL right now, Anthony, is in Cincinnati, where the Bengals not only are getting a holdout from their veteran pass rusher in Trey Hendrickson because they refuse to pay him and refuse to trade him and just are kind of holding him hostage with the franchise tag, but they also are getting that treatment from their rookie because so most of the things in a rookie contract are already negotiated. There is certain language around certain guarantees and injuries and this and that, and a couple of other things that can be tweaked ever so slightly. But rookie salaries are slotted. The amount of money that Shamar Stewart is going to make is not up for debate in terms of the per years, the bonuses, etc. And the Bengals are trying to play hardball on the language, and Shamar Stewart's having none of it. And he held in, as the term is, like he was at minicamp, but did not participate because he hasn't signed his contract yet. For, I would say, maybe not 31 other teams, but high 20s other teams. I'd be like, rookie, just put pen to paper, bro. You'll be all right. I see this story and I immediately go, this is the Bengals' fault. Because that's so incredibly Bengals. Let's just be the cheapest we possibly can. I could see them doing this. I could see the Jets doing it. The Jets aren't cheap. The Jets are just dumb. I could see Dallas doing something like this where you're just like, Jerry, what are you doing, man? It's just, and the thing is, the part of the reason I feel so strongly, I guess, oddly strong about Shamar Stewart being right here was, did you see the quote that he had, Anthony?
This is the quote that Chris Russell was trying to read. So, yes.
Oh, yes, that's true. He did. I totally forgot that this was read yesterday on the Chris Russell show.
Y'all.
Yeah. Y'all. I can't. Just before we get too derailed. Y'all are trying to win arguments, not trying to win games. That's a bar from Shamar Stewart. And it's a bar that is like devastating in its truth at the Cincinnati Bengals. So
Can you say it one more time?
Y'all don't. Paraphrase was. Now I'm trying not to say y'all. No, I'm just trying to think of what it was. Y'all are trying to win arguments, not games. That's the gist of it. It's brutal, man. Brutal. When a rookie calls you out on your BS, a rookie calls you out on your BS. Other than that, J.K. Dobbins is in the mix with the Broncos, according to sources. Probably showed up today. If not, he'll be there tomorrow, I would assume, for mandatory minicamp. Sean Payton yesterday deferred questions until today. Amongst the holdouts, not only Trey Hendrickson, Terry McLaurin, TJ Watt also missing minicamp, looking for a new contract. He, like McLaurin, is in the final year of his deal. And because I did see this from one of the Commanders' blogs on the internet, no, the Commanders should not trade Terry McLaurin for TJ Watt. What is wrong with some of you? Not even that TJ Watt's not a great player. It's just like, that's the whole, I'm not even explaining it.
How old is TJ?
31 or 32, and he's been hurt every year.
Yeah, I don't want that.
You're not trading Terry McLaurin. Quit trying to trade Terry McLaurin. Just get him signed.
Do you think he's trying to be the highest paid defensive player again?
What?
Yeah.
Miles Garrett got paid a lot of money. If
he did.
If he's trying to do that, that is an incorrect pursuit by TJ Watt. He does not. TJ Watt's awesome. He's not better than Miles Garrett. He has not been more reliable than Miles Garrett. That is relevant.
You know that have a ton of similar stats since they both were drafted.
They do, but they're not going to have similar stats the next 3 years.
True, you're right.
And that's what you're paying for. You don't pay contracts based off of what happened. You pay them based off what you think is going to happen, which is why contract negotiations get real sticky sometimes. And they currently are with the Steelers and TJ Watt. All right, that is a quick look around the NFL. When we get back, JP Finlay focusing back in on the Commanders. the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Hour number 2 of 3 here on this. It's Wednesday, right, Anthony?
I thought today was Thursday.
What day is today? It's Wednesday, right? Yeah.
It's Wednesday.
Okay. I just had a mini heart attack because I thought it was Tuesday. Everybody,
that would have been bad.
it's Wednesday. I know what time it is. It's 5 o'clock because it's time for Not My Beat.
Today's top story from the perspective of someone who's there.
You are looking live.
This just in.
Not My Beat.
JP Finlay was in Ashburn today, as he tends to be when there are things happening out there. JP, I'm sorry if I also gave you a heart attack on what day of the week it was. When it's football season, I know. When it's not football season, it's just another day of the week.
I know the feeling. It's Friday for me, though. I'm actually off the next 2 days.
Oh.
So, Wednesday to some, Friday to me.
Yeah, well, congratulations. Had we known that, Anthony probably would have played you in with Rebecca Black's Friday. That's kind of a tradition on this very silly show of ours. So, I don't know. Anthony, does that mean are we going to play JP out with Friday?
Yes, I will.
Okay. So you have that to look forward to.
I was feeling the wrecking ball. I feel like I have wrecking ball energy at times.
You know, JP, self-scouting is important. And that's what I have to say about that. All right. Let's get to the news of the day from out where you were in Ashburn. Minicamp day 2. And the headline is scary, man. It's like Noah Brown carted off. And then you hear some of the details that he walked to a cart and then was brought up. So what do we what happened as much as you saw with the Noah Brown situation? And then what have you been able to find out about the seriousness of it?
Yeah, man. I mean, my spidey senses aren't great on this, but we don't know anything. And I think it's imperative to start there, that Dan Quinn's going to address the media tomorrow after practice, and we'll find out something, presumably, then. But we know clearly was hurt. Then he gets on the cart. The weird part, the part that makes this extra weird, I would say, was he's on the cart up to the locker room, and then he lets out like an audible yell, and you don't know if he was frustrated. There's also this little like speed bump thing from where the cart kind of gets all the way up into the locker room, and it might have been just going over that, whatever the injury was. If there's a big bump, it's going to hurt your injury more. Could have just been frustrated. Could have been mad at the driver for going too fast. But you and I have been there enough. I almost find it a little bit weird that they took the cart into the little hallway area, the outdoor hallway area that goes to the locker room. Like, I mean, you're talking 10 feet to pull that thing in rather than just, like, have him walk that part. I don't know, man. It doesn't seem good. And unfortunately for Noah, I mean, this is kind of the story of his career is unfortunate injuries at times. So I'm going to try to just wait for DQ and see what we hear, but it doesn't seem great. But, dude, everybody, the speculation that kind of starts happening among all the reporters on the sideline had a lot of variance to it, and none of us are doctors, and nobody saw once he got inside. So I don't know, man. But it didn't seem great for sure.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that he was like, I'd prefer a ride versus I'll walk up. Most football players will walk if they can. They're not quite hockey players, but they're pretty tough. And so they're going to walk up.
It's a pretty steep hill.
Yeah,
for what
like
it's worth.
I'd be like, hell yeah, hey, I'm healthy. Give me a ride. But that's me. So we'll have to see. I think what it is, though, JP, whether this particular injury is something that for all we know, he's there for day 1 of training camp. For all we know, he's out there tomorrow on this little mini day that they're having. So we don't know. But what it does do is kind of shock the system. And then you combine that with the fact that Gallup hasn't been out there the last couple of days with hamstrings. And it does make you kind of think about the volatility injury-wise of this receiver room. Is there, like, when you think of it through that lens of like, okay, even if this isn't something, how prepared are they to withstand some kind of injury in that receiver room? Do you feel good about the group that they have behind, let's say, Terry and Debo and that next swath of guys? Or are you looking out there being like, man, this gets real thin real fast?
Well, that's a great question. And I think it's important like, I don't think this Noah Brown situation is going to impact the Terry situation. I think Terry's getting done regardless, and I don't think Noah drive that market one way or another. To answer your question directly, I would say no, I'm not worried about the receiver room, but I think it's more of a tribute to Jaden Daniels than necessarily what they've put together. Remember, I mean, they lost Noah Brown, the final 5 games last year? Maybe one, I want to say it was the last month, but
yeah, it was.
They won 2 playoff games without Noah Brown active, Noah Brown's a good player. He is super tough and committed and is able to really drive off defensive backs and gets those pass interference calls aren't randomly happening. It's because he forces his body. You don't want to lose him. Like the Gallup thing, Gallup wasn't in the league last year, and his health has long been a question. I can't imagine they were counting on Gallup. That's a bonus if he gives you something. One guy that I thought has looked impressive through a couple days now is Luke McCaffrey. He talked about how the game has sped up for him. He's that much more removed from being a quarterback. He's had 1 full year playing in the NFL. I think, because of the McLaurin contract situation and adding Debo, Luke is, not exactly a topic of conversation, but he's still a pretty sick athlete that ideally can get open and start making a difference. But, you don't have Diami, you don't have OZ. So, yeah, it is – that receiver room has turned over a lot. But as long as Terry's back and then you have Debo, those are 2 elite players. So I wouldn't say I'm worried about the room.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. And there's a couple guys that have kind of flashed a little bit. This Strachan dude's real big and long and lanky. He's made a couple plays. Moore, the guy who's going into his 10th year, and everyone's like, who is he? But he's an NFL player, and if you tell me he's this year's Olamide Zaccheaus, I'd be like, okay, sure, why not? And that's the thing. I think when you have a guy like Jaden, JP, is he can make as long as you meet the threshold of NFL player, Jaden Daniels can make you look pretty good. And I think that is also probably to switch gears slightly here does impact the Terry negotiations. Is if you're the team, you're like, yeah, man, you had a career year, but it's because of 5. And if I'm Terry's people, I'm being like, yeah, you want to know why Jaden was able to come into the NFL and be awesome? Because my guy was there, because Terry was incredible last year. Where do you think these negotiations sit, and do you think that this gets done before or during training camp?
I think before. I think if it doesn't get done before, then you've got a problem. But until training camp, I don't think you have a problem. That tracks.
Yeah, it does, but I think it's worth double-clicking on that for the audience for a second. When we say a problem, let's say it doesn't get done before camp and it gets done 10 days into camp. What problems are we talking about there?
I think it really helps that, especially for a talented wide receiver, Terry is extremely mature and, not a diva, not going to take this to social media, just not that kind of person. I think there are other players where you probably see that stuff happening. I mean, heck, remember Brandon Ayuk this time last summer?
Oh, yes.
How incredibly annoying and crazy that situation was. And so I really think, this is the exact same timeline of the last deal he signed. In 22, he missed a lot of it too. He missed some of OTAs. The OTAs he missed were the days we were there, because he was there plenty, but him not being there when we're there makes all of us talk about, hey, Terry's not here, and it kind of gets the point across. And if you go back to 22, he also missed minicamp, and then he signed a new deal on July 6th. I think if you listen to Dan Quinn yesterday talk about Terry, saying, sometimes football and business intersect, but we know who Terry is. He's a fantastic teammate, fantastic player. I think the team certainly wants to get this done. I think it gets done. Well, why I say a problem is if you get to training camp, that's when it becomes a level of how hard is the player going to go here? Because if the issue is not having guaranteed money on your contract, when you get to training camp, heck, we saw with Noah Brown today, injuries become a real thing. And that is when things change significantly, is if it gets to camp and it lingers, and maybe they do get a deal done 10 days into camp, and everybody's hunky-dory. You and I work on contracts. Obviously the dollar figures are quite different, but there are some inherent, friction points and frustrations when you have contracts to get done. And McLaurin, to me, is just using leverage while he has it. But, if you get to camp and it's not done, and then you're concerned about injuries, you see more and more guys holding in now, and it's not in Terry's character whatsoever to be like a distraction. But if Terry's on the sideline not practicing, the media's job becomes asking the other guys, hey, what's it like? Is it weird seeing Terry over there not going? And by and large, NFL players are pro athletes and understand the deal, but it just continues to become a bigger and bigger thing. A snowball going down a hill, gaining some snow.
Totally. And it's as much an opportunity cost thing, right? It's like, if we're not spending our energy on this, what could we be spending it on? And with a guy like Terry, he's not going to actively fracture the locker room or anything like that, but he's just kind of lingering, and there is some intangible effect on it. And not to mention, do you wind up starting a little bit slower? It's weird because last year, I think Chase held in, right, in Cincinnati, and then he won the Triple Crown, but also the Bengals started really slow. So, I don't know what to make of that. And be like, hey, yeah, if you're going to have Jamar Chase's season, hell yeah, hold in, get your money, and then go out and win the Triple Crown. But it's not how they want to do business. They want everybody rolling the same direction. Pick your analogy. We know that's how Quinn wants it. And every day that Terry's not on the boat is less than ideal. All right, JP Finley's with us. Of course, B. Mitch and Finley, 106.7 The Fan. You can catch him weekdays, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., except for tomorrow and Friday because he's off. Also catch him on NBC4. All right, Marshon Lattimore. He spoke today. It was interesting to hear him talk about, I was definitely hurt last year, tried to play through it, obviously didn't go great. What'd you make of what he said, and what have you made of him and what you've seen the last 2 days?
Yeah, obviously the Noah Brown injury is the headline, but I think Marshon's words and how about this? I think Marshon being healthy is more impactful. Yeah. If Lattimore is good and can give you a solid season, and then I really like Trey Amos. I think Mikey Samerstill put enough on. Who's not excited for year 2 of Samerstill? If you get 15 games of lockdown corner from Lattimore, all of a sudden the secondary is a strength, and the defense looks so much better. So I thought it was really encouraging talking to Marshon. I thought he doesn't strike me as a dude that loves doing media, but he showed a real level of honesty and even vulnerability today that I was pretty impressed by. And I think Lattimore is absolutely loved by players and coaches, and I think we saw a snapshot of why today. Now, listen, if you got lingering hamstring issues and you can run well in June, but in October you got problems, the vulnerability and honesty doesn't really matter. But this is one, the Commanders are leaning on their docs on this. They think they can figure this out, and if they're right, it's a big bonus to this defense.
For sure. Did he talk at all today, JP, about why he just showed up for the mandatory portion and kind of what he's been working on in the meantime when he wasn't there for the voluntary portion?
Not while I was there, but there were you know how it gets. There were multiple things.
Yeah, they went double scrum on you today, which is really a reporter's worst nightmare.
Well, double scrum, and you could get players coming off the field, and Revo wasn't at a podium, and Revo just got the contract extension, and I wanted to get that. So we were pulled a lot of directions. So if he did address it, I didn't hear it.
All right, fair enough. Anthony, bookmark if Marshon Lattimore said anything about missing the voluntary portion and the sound that we got. My
guess is, though, he didn't. And my guess is he wasn't asked. I was working out at home. I don't think there's anything to it,
I guess, but I know this has been a topic of conversation that we've been having on the show, and Logan and I have been talking about it on and off the air as well. It's such a weird thing because on a principle level, any guy is allowed to miss. They are voluntary. That is negotiated by the NFLPA. if they have a plan and they're ready and they show up in mandatory camp and they do what they're supposed to do, they show up at training camp and they ball out, do whatever you want. But it does feel like there's almost an unwritten rule of who is and isn't allowed to miss. And it feels like based off his play the last couple of years, Lattimore is more along those lines. And the other thing that I thought Logan said on Take Command that was super interesting was, when Logan got to Atlanta in 16, 17, when he played for Dan, football had not been fun for a couple of years from him. They had some bad years here in Washington. He was in Chicago, and they were the worst offense in the league. And he goes to Atlanta, and he's like, Dan made football fun again. And it feels like for Marshon, after these injuries and whatever, just being around this energy would be good for him. And so that's the kind of what I would want to know is like, hey man, why? Like, what's it been like to be around these guys? And was there any thought of coming to be a part of this during the voluntary portion, even though you've had a plan that's worked for you for the last couple of years, and see if he would answer it that way?
Yeah, I think that is that's a fair question, especially the way you're framing it with making football fun. Because, Lattimore was clearly unhappy in New Orleans. I think that situation had gone super sideways. So, that's a relevant point. I get people have questions about it, right? I think it's just the nature of it's just the business of football. And maybe that sounds like a catch-all, but I don't know.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's they start talking about business, and there's only so much following up you can do. All right, wrapping up here with JP Finlay on the Hoffman Show. They've got this family day, shorter practice, whatever they're going to do tomorrow, and then it's hold your breath season across the NFL. You don't want any news. I guess this team wants a Terry contract done. Outside of that, you don't want any news, and then you're going into training camp. But there are still some names floating out there. Do you think Washington, the obligatory question here, JP, do you think Washington makes any significant, and I'll let you define significant roster move between now and the opening of training camp outside of signing Terry McLaurin to an extension?
I lean no. You mean like trading for Hendrickson or something like that?
It could be trading for Hendrickson, trading for Ramsey. I guess Dobbins and Chubb are now off the market, so I don't know if there's any free agents left that you would deem significant. But if
a roster move that headline Sports Center or something.
I would say headline Sports Center or like they sign someone who's going to play real snaps for them.
The real snaps thing could be different because I still think we could see releases. And dude, they signed Noah Brown like September 1st, and he played a ton for them.
Well, sure.
So I think there still could be signings that end up mattering a lot, but I don't know. But like, if you're Washington at this point, like if you wanted Hendrickson, they called about it. I don't know what Cincy's going to do there. And then, like, T.J. Watt, I don't think so, but I don't know. I wouldn't say definitively, but I don't think there's another Sports Center headline move coming.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I feel like they like their roster better than the outside does. And the outside does. It's funny because even the outside, people are like, I don't know, I'm not buying Washington's offseason. All right, well, who do you like in the NFC? Well, Philly, obviously. And then I like Washington. And I'm like, What are you people saying? We have the whole summer to figure that out. JP Finlay, B. Mitch and Finlay, 106.7 The Fan, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Check out the podcast from earlier today if you'd like. And then, of course, also speaking of podcasts, the Beltway Football Show with he and our guy Mitch Tischler and NBC4. You can catch him there, including the All Ears Show. So check that out. JP, enjoy your off days, sir, and thanks for the time.
Thanks, buddy. Yeah,
right.
No problem.
JP Finlay with us here on the Hoffman Show. When we get back, 5:30, we talked to JP's colleague at NBC4, Mark Segraves. He was thrown out of a meeting. City Council was discussing the RFK funding situation. Mark was like, hi, hello, I'm here to do my job. And they're like, no, you're not. That video going around the interwebs. Mark has been reporting on all the RFK stuff, and now the question really that Mark was trying to answer, and we're all trying to answer, and hopefully Mark has some answers, is City Council about to put this whole deal at risk? And if they do, would DC and the Commanders have a deal? Or are they, would the Commanders say, nope, we're going back to Maryland because we can't get this thing done on time? Is this do or die for the Commanders and RFK? We discuss with Mark Segraves from NBC4 next. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app, streaming live on YouTube too, at the Team 980. We're scheduled here to be joined by Mark Segraves of NBC4. Anthony, was he on the phone? Because now it's dropped.
Yeah, so I just texted him to see if he was still good, but I'm not sure what happened there.
Sometimes the reporting gets in the way of, joining us. So here's what we're gonna do in the meantime. Let's get everybody the baseline here of what is happening with RFK, because it's a little squirrely, it's a little weird, and Mark, as usual, was on the scene to cover it all. So here's from NBC4's story on their website, NBCWashington.com. The D.C. City Council held a closed-door meeting Tuesday morning to discuss removing the deal to build a new Commander Stadium from the district's budget. The deal to bring the team back to the district at the RFK Stadium site could be carved out of the 2026 budget and voted on separately. The vote would not occur until after the budget vote. The Commanders' deal with D.C. requires an agreement by July 15th. If that date passes, the Commanders could start negotiating again with Maryland or Virginia. Mayor Muriel Bowser recently said a delay by the D.C. City Council could jeopardize the deal. In a statement Tuesday, the mayor said the time to debate the deal is now. A delay sacrifices our exclusive seat at the table and a $2.7 billion private investment, Bowser's statement said. The Commanders and my team, a.k.a. the mayor's team, are ready to iron out the details with the council and respond to any concerns. It should be clear, but let me emphasize, if council strips the deal terms or budgeted dollars from the budget, it kills our agreement with the Commanders. So that is what Mayor Bowser said. As for what was happening behind the closed doors in this city council meeting, Mark Segraves went and tried to find out, and NBC4's Mark Segraves is with us now. Mark, then they kicked you out?
Yeah, not the first time, and it won't be the last time. But yes, they did. You know, the D.C. Council, and I will say, for me and for a lot of people, this is as big a deal as the command. What they were discussing is the fact that for years, for almost 2 decades, D.C. law said if the D.C. Council, the majority of members of the D.C. Council were meeting to discuss public business, they had to give 2 days notice to the public, and it had to be open to the public. And there were exemptions if they wanted to talk about personnel matters or top secret negotiations with somebody or, you know, top secret security stuff. But stuff like the budget had to be discussed in public. And last month, the council changed that law, and the mayor went along for the ride and signed it into action. And now legally they can do this. They can have these secret meetings behind closed doors and not tell anybody. I happened to find out about this meeting and walked in at the exact moment that they were discussing RFK.
So let me backtrack to that larger picture here. And this is a sports show. We'll spend most of this on RFK, but like, these are public officials discussing public business. Why on earth would it happen behind closed doors?
Because that's how they go back and forth with one another, and you know, that's how the sausage is made, and they don't want the public to see that. And you know, they say, oh, they don't want their dirty laundry done in public and things like that, but you know, that's how this is done. And this is, you know, people have compared this to, like, this is a seat of government that's asking for representation, right? We don't have any representation in Congress, but yet when it comes down to local level, they want to work in secrecy. And so it's really unfortunate. As a member of the press and as a D.C. resident taxpayer, I find it very unfortunate. The chairman knows exactly how I feel about these meetings. He knows I will try to force myself in every time they have one of these if I'm around. And like I said at the top of the interview, this won't be the last time they throw me out of one of their meetings.
All right, Mark Segraves with us, dogged reporter for NBC4, covering the RFK situation. So how much of a situation do we really have here, Mark? Like, is the city council actually going to peel this out? And if they do, is there any chance that it gets done before the July 15th deadline? And I guess the last part, after reading the story on your website on NBCWashington.com, is like, even if they were able to make the chronology work, does the sheer part or fact of them peeling it out of the budget, would that nullify the deal anyway, and thus that deadline becomes irrelevant?
Look, this is a serious roadblock, and I have to say the commander's statement that they gave me after I broke this story yesterday, it took them all day. I called them in the morning, right? And the mayor's office and the commanders, I called them when I walked into that meeting. As soon as they threw me out, I called the commanders and I called the mayor's office. It took them 6 hours for both entities to come up with a statement. I was really surprised at how forceful and threatening the commander's statement was. I really expected that the commanders would throw Bill Mendelson, the chairman of the council, a bone and say, okay, we'll agree to give you an extra month so that you can claim a victory and you can have some time to, you know, have a separate hearing, and this will, you know, let you save face and claim victory, and we can give you that. That's what I really expected would happen. Instead, the commanders doubled down with the mayor and said, no, you're going to lose FIFA. You're going to lose this. This is what D.C. has at stake if they don't get this done by July 15th. They really drew a line in the sand. And I don't know how many council members the chairman has on his side to delay any portions of this vote. Now, the chairman has said that the debt service for the $500 million upfront money that they need in this first portion of the development and the legislation, he says that will be protected. That will be in the budget. We don't know what other parts he's planning because it was behind closed doors. So we didn't hear what what he told to council members was his vision of what he wanted to take out of the budget and delay. So we're and no one has said, but what we do know is Zach Parker from Ward 5 has since been on the record as saying that the vote could be delayed till as late as September or October. That is a significant delay that I don't think the Commanders can stomach. Will they go to Maryland and kiss D.C. goodbye? That's a stretch. They've expended a lot of political capital in the White House, in the halls of Congress, and then dollar-wise and otherwise, they're into it. That said, they're not so far down the road that they can't pull out and they can't start looking for a better deal. And all you have to do is look at Virginia and Glenn Youngkin and Ted Leonsis to know that it ain't done until it's done, right? And so anything can happen at this point. So, this is a serious concern for the Commanders. It was expected. It did not come out of the blue. They should have been expecting this. But the Commanders are doubling down on they want it. They want that preliminary vote by July 15th.
So, Mark, how real is this timeline here? Like, this could be viewed as this is a political box that the Commanders and Mayor Bowser are trying to put the city council in to get this thing done. But it could also be real in terms of construction timelines. And maybe this thing has been delayed so long that if they don't have this done by July 15th, they can't actually get the stadium built by 2030. Nevertheless, 2031 2030 when they want it to open for the Commanders, 2031 when the Women's World Cup is here, amongst the other big events that they are hoping to land in that time frame. So is this politics? Is this real construction timelines and not as much of a political game?
Yes, it is both. So, look, the chairman and the council have a very valid point that the mayor proposed her budget that includes the stadium legislation much later in the calendar than they typically would. And some of this was because of Congress doing the $1 billion budget cut for the current year. And so the mayor has some, explanation as to why it was late, but the chairman and the council are right. Normally they would have much more time to go over something like this. And again, if I put on my D.C. resident cap, I think if $1 billion of my tax dollars are going to go to anything, I would like to see public hearings on stuff like that. And now we're not going to get standalone public hearings on the stadium. So the council has a point in that respect. That said, Josh Harris has made it clear long before they announced this deal, wherever they were going, 2030, that was the date. That was his target. That's what he wants. And so you kind of have to go with that. And so, again, you're also looking, when you're talking construction these days, you're talking tariffs, right? You're talking about the cost of goods and materials that are in such flux that any delay on anything can cost significant amount of money. And so they obviously want to get this started, start buying things, start getting prices locked in as soon as they possibly can. That said, I don't think this is a deal killer. I really, even if they don't make the July 15th deadline, I don't think that will kill the deal. I think the Commanders and the mayor, they have it in the contract that if they mutually agree to extend that deadline, they can. And I think if the council can say, look, in good faith, by July 15th, we did approve the financing, the debt service for this, so we've made progress. The Commanders may look at that and say, okay, you're operating in good faith. But again, I think if you start with Zach Parker's September-October timeline, that's where I think the Commanders get really, really concerned and worried. And that's why I think Mayor Bowser was a council member and has been mayor for 10 years, and she knows that until it's signed, sealed, and delivered, anything can happen, and she wants to avoid that, and that's why she has been steadfast in this July 15th deadline. And look no further than the Washington Nationals baseball, Nats Park, I was in the room when they took that vote at midnight, and everybody thought it was going to pass, and Linda Kropp changed her vote at the last minute, and everybody thought the deal was dead. And all hell broke loose. And then they went back to the table. They made a few negotiations and changed a few things, came back and voted, and obviously we've got, world champion baseball team in Park in D.C. now because of that. So, it's both politics and it's the reality of financing a multi-billion-dollar project in this day and age.
Mark Segraves with us here on the Hoffman Show, reporter for NBC4 covering City Council and thus the mayor's office and thus the RFK Stadium situation. We're going to go with situation, Mark. When you think about the City Council members that are in flux here, the swing votes, the ones that are going to matter, how many of them are going to be motivated by the politics, how it looks, did it look like I put up a fight versus the substance, and then being able to say later, like, this is why I did it? Because ultimately, like, public hearings are important. They do matter. I'm not anti-public hearings by any stretch of the imagination, but we also elect these people to do a job, and this is part of their job. And I think that if you were a council member who wanted to try to take a look at it and vote with your conscience based off the information available, you could sell that later. Like, you elected me to do this, and I thought it was important enough to get it done. So how many of them will be motivated? Do you have a whip count, if you will, on either side of the motivations for these council members?
So while I may be the oldest, longest-serving D.C. reporter in town right now, I am absolutely the worst at counting votes, and I have 25 years of getting it wrong to prove that. I will say, here's what we know. Going into this week, the mayor felt like she had 10 votes, 10 yes votes out of 12 who would say yes to the stadium, and she only needs 7. And we even saw Phil Mendelssohn, who'd been a no, switch to maybe and yes, but I'm going to make it better. And so the votes are there to pass this. The question is, can Mendelssohn rally a couple of them to delay it? And that's what we're going to find out we'll find out by July 14th exactly whether or not he has those votes to do that. My guess is that the commanders and the mayors are going to come up with something to give those council members before then, to give them enough assurance that they feel comfortable taking that vote on July 15th. Or Mendelssohn, who said he's meeting with the team later this week, reaches a deal with the commanders that they allow him some type of delay. And maybe it's Zach Parker saying August or saying October, and then the commander saying, like, we'll give you August, right? And the negotiations afoot. But these are the conversations that are, again, going on behind closed doors that the public is not privy to, and so we just have to wait and see how it plays out on the dais.
Do we have any idea delaying it seems silly for the sake of delaying it? They're delaying it for a reason. Do we know what the reasons are?
We know the council just hired Bob. Robert Bob was the city administrator under Mayor Williams. He helped with the negotiations to be the baseball team here. He actually did a report for the mayor on the stadium, on this stadium, on the NFL stadium, and now he's been hired by the council to look into all of this, what this deal actually means, and to give them a report so they know fiscally what it's going to mean for the city. My good friend and colleague Tom Sherwood just tweeted today that he believes Robert Bob's chief job will be not producing a report, but acting as the go-between and the mediator between the mayor and Phil Mendelssohn, because they just don't play well in the sandbox together.
All right, last question for Mark Segraves, NBC4. We know one of the firm no's is Ward 1 council member Brienne Nadeau. Mark, that's my council member. We have requested an interview with her. She doesn't want to talk. Do we have any idea why she is a firm no and not willing to talk about it?
Yeah, she just doesn't believe it's a good use of funds. She and Charles Allen are probably the two steadfast no votes on this that you can count to vote no. I don't honestly know how they would vote. They would probably vote yes on a delay for whatever motivating reasons that would motivate them to do that. Councilmember Nadeau doesn't put herself out there a lot, and for press she does do interviews sometimes. You stop her in the hallway, she'll stop she will talk to you. But I would venture to say that she doesn't see going on your show as going into friendly territory where she's going to win a lot of hearts and minds. You know, your audience probably more than not wants the stadium. And so, you know, what does she have to gain by going on your show? I don't think she's going to change a lot of your listeners' mind. And so that's probably what's going through her head.
I don't need to tell you this, but if you can't explain yourself to people who disagree with you, then you've entered the wrong business as a politician. Like, then you don't have firmly held beliefs, and that's just maybe that's the intrepid reporter somewhere inside of me being like, you should be willing to answer questions.
You describe 50%, if not more, of all politicians in the country.
Well, Mark, that might be a conversation for a different show, as we like to say around here.
Indeed.
Indeed. Mark, appreciate your time as always. Thank you, sir. Great work, and good luck getting kicked out of your next meeting.
Anytime. I love being on your show. Have me anytime. I appreciate it.
You got it. It's Mark Segraves with us here on the Hoffman Show. And again, like, Anthony, I just have questions. And if you're not, as a public official, willing to answer them, especially in front of people who disagree with you, like, what's the point? If all you're going to do is just speak to the people that already agree with you, then, like, no one ever changes their mind on anything. No one has new information. Okay, you think one way, I think another. If you think you're right, why aren't you willing to explain that to me? I'm not trying to bite your head off. I'm not trying to be like, how could you possibly think that? And there's a chance. I hate the phrase we agree to disagree, because I think it is incredibly overused and people try to avoid conflict and uncomfortable conversations that could actually create a deeper understanding because of it. But there is a chance that foundationally, fundamentally, we would have a conversation that would result us in coming to two conclusions on this kind of thing. That she says, I think that the money can go here. And I would say, well, I think this. And she would go, either, well, we just disagree on that. Okay, fine. What I value versus what she values, and she thinks the rest of my neighbors in Ward 1 value reasonably could be different things. But at the very least, what I would like to know is, are we operating from the same information, right? Everyone gets their own opinions. You don't get your own facts. You can value facts at a different level, but that like on a foundational level bothers me. When a public official will not come on a show like this and discuss the biggest thing, arguably from a budget standpoint, not to mention what it means to so many people in the city, just flat out, nope, not interested. Especially when the interview request is like, hi, I'm one of your constituents. Can we chat? No? Well, damn.
Yeah, just sound like, they're stuck in their own, little bubble, and their perspective is theirs, and they don't want to, hear others. So,
if you're that entrenched, then you should be willing to explain yourself.
Yeah.
That's the way I see it. That's all I got to say about that. Thanks again to Mark for joining us. When we get back on the field, football style, it's our Pick 6 at 6, and at 6:30, we're previewing tonight's Game 3 of the NBA Finals. right, here we go. Hour number 3, The Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Streaming live on YouTube, too, at the Team 980. And it is time for our Pick 6 at 6.
The 6 biggest Commander storylines.
It is caught!
Delivered at 6 o'clock sharp. It's the Pick 6 at 6.
We set out to find a leader, someone who could take this franchise to the next level and build an elite team that consistently competes for championships.
Commanders mandatory minicamp day 2 storyline.
Number 1.
Number 1 was Noah Brown's exit. He came up lame after a fall and eventually got in a cart. It was wheeled off the field. Ben Standig of The Athletic was with Grant Danny earlier today and described what he saw as he was there.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's hard to know exactly what happened, but basically he made a catch over the middle. It was like a sort of a low throw, and he went down to the ground, secured it, no big deal. But you could tell in the way he hit that something happened. You know, to what degree, who knows? He stays down for an extra 2, 3, 4 seconds. The training staff comes out. He does eventually get up and slowly walks off the field, but then they decide to cart him over to the building. And, you know, like I said, it's hard to tell exactly what stood out a little bit was when he gets to the building with the cart kind of rolls over sort of like a little bump out there. And at that moment, he kind of let out a scream. We were all sort of standing right there. And we don't know if it's a scream out of frustration, if it's a scream out of the bump did something to him. I can't say for sure. But, yeah, the whole thing was, you know, jarring. You know, you've seen it before. Some guys, it seems like a disaster, and then it turns out.
Finished out that quote saying it turns out not being a big deal. JP Finlay joined us earlier in the show as well. You can listen to both Ben on Grant Danny and our chat with JP wherever you get your podcast. But JP said, you know, it's way too early to know how serious this is. For all we know, he's back tomorrow. For all we know, he's out for the season, and could be anything in between. But the good news is there's a long time until outside of tomorrow's short practice. They're only practicing for like an hour. I think it's a family day situation, so it ain't going to be that strenuous on day 3 of mandatory minicamp. But it's a long time until training camp starts in July. Like, it's not that long. It's like 6-7 weeks, which is kind of crazy from just like a human level, because it feels like this offseason has flown by, and you're telling me we're only a couple weeks from training camp. But in terms of an injury recovery, potentially, like that's plenty of time. And you got, you know, 3 months basically until the season starts. So way too early to do any kind of freaking out. We did talk in the opening segment, though, about kind of the state of the receiver room, and that you can also check out wherever you get your podcasts.
Number 2.
All right. As for the here and now, guys that are back with the Commanders, ready to go, fired up, vets, including Austin Eckler and Bobby Wagner. For Eckler, it's year 9. Year 9 for Austin Eckler. What keeps him motivated to keep going, especially after he had that really scary concussion last year?
Yeah, you know, I think just, you know, it's human nature to want to continue to progress in your craft, you know, and if you find something that you're passionate about, if you're fortunate enough to have that as your job, it really continues to feed that fire. And, you know, I'm in a fortunate position, very blessed to be in a position where I can come out here and play football and entertain the world on the football field. And so it's been awesome to continue to push, and I'll now getting as an older guy to help the younger guys also, you know, come along and find the best version of themselves and hopefully make an impact as well. And so putting all of that together really makes it exciting, especially, you know, being out here in D.C., you know, just the culture around football out here is truly incredible. You know, being out in the town and stuff like that, always taking pictures, things like that. Like, I love it because that's so special to have the community involved, because we all really truly feel like we're together out here.
Very, very different than being a Los Angeles Charger, let's say. Bobby Wagner, he wanted more in D.C., came back not only to play, but play another year. Behind that decision was the thoughts that Bobby Wagner is sharing with you right now.
Man, the players, really, the coaches, you know, when you create a relationship with people, and not just the players, but the coaches and, like I said, the city, this was a very, very fun time. And you could feel it, you know, through that playoff run, through the end of the season. Like, you could feel that energy. And, you know, I think it would be really cool to bring a championship here. And I want to be a part of that.
Well, It's year 14, so the math would tell us, even though Bobby Wagner still made second team All-Pro last year, that he's running out of time. But this team did make the NFC Championship game last year. They do have the best quarterback in the conference. It's year 14 for Wagner. What keeps him motivated?
Greatness, man. I want to be great. I think the thing that's been dope is the players, the people that I play with, the coaches. They make it fun to come to work every day. And, I want to win for them, and I want to continue to be successful with them, not just by myself.
One of the all-time greats. He'll have a gold jacket. Will he have another Lombardi trophy? That's the goal. If our next subject can play well, it's going to go a long way to that end.
Number 3.
Marshon Lattimore, back in camp after sitting out the voluntary portion, was there for the 2 mandatory days and spoke today for the first time this offseason and was very blunt. JP, when he was with us earlier, described him as almost vulnerable. You'll hear that in this answer of, hey, man, did you feel like yourself at all last year when you got to D.C.?
Not really. I feel a little timid, just not like physically, not mentally like timid, but I could tell in my game when I watch film, I could tell how I'm stepping. I look timid, in my game. And now, just being out there for these past 2 days, I feel way better than I did last year.
Which is a fantastic sign. And you seeing him move around, you see some of the recovery speed, you see some of the things that make him. And, I didn't say this yesterday, but this is something I think is worth pointing out. He's not the biggest guy. Like, Trey Amos is much bigger in terms of height and length than Lattimore. So when you're not the biggest guy as a corner and your eliteness comes from something other than your physical traits, you're going to have, or I should say your build, right? The physical traits that make you elite are your quickness, your hands, your physicality, your speed. If you're not physically right, think of how significantly that's going to affect your game. And we've talked about this before, about the cornerback position. It's so hard to play, and the steepness of the cliff at the end is basically a vertical line straight down for a lot of guys. You don't see guys linger around at the cornerback position long. They can play at maybe a super high level. They play at an acceptable level for maybe a year or two, and then they're done. And what obviously the Commanders are hoping for Lattimore is that we're not at the done phase, that last year was purely an aberration based off of his health. And, based off what he was a couple years ago in New Orleans, that's a fair assumption to make. It has been very health-driven in terms of his quote-unquote downfall. Whatever downturn in production and efficacy he's had has been tied to specifically the hamstrings. And so I thought JP put it well with us earlier. They're betting on their doctors, and they are very much hoping that Marshon Lattimore is a top-flight corner in 2025. And looking back at 2024, that mental strain really did wear on him at times, and he knew that he was trying to play through something. And maybe in hindsight, he shouldn't have.
Yeah, because I just wanted to prove that, they made the right decision, obviously. So I just want to get out there and show what I can do. But, I was hurt, but I don't want to make excuses. So I was out there, I was out there. If I was good enough to play, I can be evaluated on that. So, it is what it is. I just want to get out there this year, show what I can do.
I always want players who have that mentality, right? If I'm out there, I got to play, because they're not like, whoa, hey, no 5-yard penalty going against the injured guy. Like, there's no handicapping football or basketball or baseball. Like, you can handicap golf, but they're not going to handicap the freaking Masters. Like, if you're playing with your buddy and you want to give him some strokes, like, go ahead. But, at the highest levels of competition, if you lace it up, if you step out on the field of play, you're expected to perform. As an analyst, or if I'm the front office and I'm trying to determine the value of a player, do I want this guy to be a part of my program moving forward? It would be stupid to think like that. So it's very different, the player mentality. And then even, for Marshon to have the perspective to look at him back in hindsight, look at himself back in hindsight and be like, yeah, like, I understand why I wasn't successful. I think that's good for the mentals. I think that's a good thing to do. But I always want the mentality of the player moving forward to be, if I'm good enough to play, I'm expected to play well. And you have to problem solve. And he didn't do a great job of that last year. Hopefully he doesn't have to do it this year. When we get back, more from Commanders minicamp day 2, including a contract extension for a fan favorite. Not Terry McLaurin. If you haven't heard, we'll tell you who it is next on the Team 980. But first, the latest from the world of women's sports presented to you by Wawa. Chicken, how you want it. Wawa with customizable roasted and crispy chicken sandwiches. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app, and of course streaming live on YouTube too at the Team 980. You miss any part of the show, you can check out the Hoffman Show podcast wherever you get your podcasts. That would include today interviews with WNBA Rookie of the Month, Kiki Iriafen, JP Finlay from NBC4 and 106.7 The Fan on the Commanders Day at Minicamp, and Mark Segraves with the latest on the RFK Stadium developments or potential implosion of the deal. So if you missed any of that, definitely check those out in the podcast feed. All right, as for right now, we continue with the back half of our Pick 6 at 6.
Number 4.
We pick up with a deal that got done today for a fan favorite, a contract extension, but it's not Terry McLaurin. Nope, Jeremy Reeves gets a new one-year extension. The special teams ace and former All-Pro player who was a part of a very, very good kick coverage unit last year. He, Nick Ballore, Tyler Owens, Colson Yankoff, they got a really good special teams group, and none of them are better than Reeves. Dan Quinn today asked about Revo and what he's meant to the club and the special teams unit and why it was time for him to get this done.
Yeah, that honestly makes me smile. This is a true commander, one of our heavy hitters, and an absolute all-around BMF, in every way. It's no surprise he was elected one of the captains, when the postseason began. But he affects all sides of the ball, and that's kind of the best part about our team. It's not like, hey, I'm just over here with the defense or just on the special teams. We're one team, and I love that. And Jeremy represents that about as strongly as anybody could. Now, the performance side, man, you feel him, and the speed and the tackling and the toughness. And we really value what he brings to us on and off the field. So, when that came out, man, that's an absolute really cool moment for us.
Special teams is very different than defense, but I have to wonder if Jeremy Reeves had Dan Quinn as his coach the entire time in his NFL career, would he have been able to carve out a role defensively? Just because of how DQ thinks, where it's like, what can I do with this guy that he does well? Because the running and the hitting and the speed and the physicality, there's got to be a use for that somewhere. Jeremy's played safety at times, and he can struggle in coverage and the whole deal. But credit to, words that I don't say often. Credit to Ron Rivera, and even going back further, credit to Revo just on special teams for carving out that role and being undeniable. Back when I was on the beat, he was a guy that was on the practice squad, kind of floating around, and they always kept him. And the practice squad, and it's this guy defensively, what is he? Is he ever going to develop into anything? And he just clearly made enough of an impact to stay around. Then you get called up, you make an impact on special teams, and then he gets empowered to do even more and more and more. And just he is the rare guy that in this league doesn't matter what he can do on offense or defense. He's that good on teams. And the fact that they have two of them on this roster with he and Nick Ballore is pretty special. Ballore, technically a linebacker, but he's never going to play linebacker. He's a special teams guy. And this unit is a part of who they are. I was listening to DQ on Chris Long's show, and DQ talked about how special teams is a part of their identity. They covered more kicks than anybody last year, which is, one, they scored a ton of points, but also they didn't kick the ball through the end zone. Some of that was who their kickers were, but that was also an intentional choice. We're going to run down and we're going to hit you an extra time, and you're going to have to deal with it. And Reeves is at the center of all that. And the last point I'll make real quick on this is, I know Terry technically is not their guy. They didn't draft him, but Sam Cosmi, Reeves, these are guys that have gotten extensions because they have bought in fully to the culture, and they are every bit of Commanders, Quinn Peters edition, as they're more that than they were, frustrated with the previous editions. And I think Terry fits into that too. So I know there's some consternation about, at the end of the day, will this contract get done because he's not their guy? I think Terry is one of their guys. And Reeves is a good reminder that you don't have to be drafted or brought in to fit that criteria.
Number 5.
Speaking of their guys, they got their guys on the coaching staff too, and pretty much all of them are back. That was a talking point today, not just with Dan Quinn, but Bobby Wagner. We'll start off with Quinn, who was asked about the ability to keep so many of his coaches and how that has allowed the staff as a whole to take a step forward.
There's efficiency element for sure. Okay, this. But what also happens is you're more open to suggest, to receive feedback, and as coaches, that's important. When we're studying something different, have we thought about this? Can we go into that way? When you do a first-time installation of your systems, it really stems, from the coordinators. This is what's going to be. Then, as you get into years 2 and beyond, now you have a chance to study some other things. Would this be something we'd add? Would it not be? Where last year we didn't really get a chance to do that. We were putting in, this is from a philosophical standpoint, how we want to play. And so now you're able to, we practiced it, we didn't call it a lot, let's take it out. This one we should have called more, let's give it more time. So you're able to put the puzzle together a little bit better, how to feature the guys better, and the communication amongst the staff, offense to defense, how they share ideas across the hall. Those are things that probably don't fully develop until you're together a year and you've been through the good times, the tough days, and then you're able to share more information. So that was one of our goals going into the off season. Could we elevate ourselves to help the players? And to a man, these coaches have really nailed that piece, and so that's why we're excited for the camp. This is kind of the culmination of that, and then our times together are intense, and we'll need the break too. Before we come back, much like the players do. When we're here, it's kind of go, and you're hitting it hard, and so we'll need that time to recharge and get ready as well.
And as for how that is ultimately received by the players, Bobby Wagner also talked about the continuity of the coaching staff today.
I think it's another year, under the same system, with the same teachers, with the same players, and I think, that puts us further than where we were at last year. I think that's something you can be excited about, you can build on, and I like where we're at compared to where we were at last year.
It's just a foundation underneath. I mean, last year there's so much changeover. Everything was new, including like the owner, basically was new still. And this year you have general manager in place, coaching staff in place, leadership in place. Quarterback is not a rookie anymore. There's just so much there. And that allows for a level of experimentation, which we might see along the defensive line.
Number 6.
Last thing in our pick 6 at 6 is Quinn talking about something we talked about with Dietrich Wise yesterday. Wise talked about how he can basically play 1 through 9. If you think about the defensive line and the alignments, if you want to put him on the outside shoulder of the tackle and be a 1 technique, or an outside shoulder of the center and be a 1 technique, inside shoulder of the guard, like you can do that. You can have a 3 tech. You can even play 5. You can play 6, heads up on the tight end. He can play outside as a 7 or a 9. Like he can do everything. And that optionality is great, but eventually you've also got to find the combinations that work well together. And Dan Quinn was asked today about some of the versatility and if they're able to do more than they were previously because of the personnel they have now with guys like Wise, guys like Kinlaw, guys like Payne as the featured presentations.
Yes, on both. Yes, they're doing more as a group together, and I really lean on Joe on that. Like I thought he's one that's also thrown a great offseason. What things can we incorporate? How do we add certain things? And some of that comes, John, from like doing more time together. So when you're starting last year in the first, OTAs and where you're going and how you're doing. And so when you have being together for a whole calendar year, like that's a big deal. And so for so many of these coaches to be back here, wanting to elevate ourselves to see, can we take it further, to help the players take it further? That was one of my off-season goals. As a staff, can we, collectively help one another, take it up a notch? And a number of them have. So, yes, it's by design that they spent more time together. And, yes, usually the things that you emphasize during that time, you get to see it come to fruition.
I'm excited to see the creativity they have up front. And I also wonder if there's going to be some freedom for the players. Like, is there a chance that on any given play it's like Dorrance Armstrong, Javon Kinlaw, Daron Payne, and Dietrich Wise, or throw Johnny Newton in that mix, or, some of these guys that have the versatility, and it's like, hey, Payne, you wanna be outside this time? I'll slide inside. Like, and the players, based off how they feel in the game, or even on any given snap at a formation, hey, switch with me real quick. Like, you feel like you got to tell and you want to exploit it. Like, depending on the situation and how smart the players are, like you can give that kind of freedom. And that ownership also is a motivating factor for guys. Hey, I'm going to give you the opportunity that, hey, Duran, if you want to switch places with Dietrich, you give him the tap and you guys switch, and now you're going to rush from the edge. But if you pick that card, you better get home. And so that kind of accountability is a fun game to play. And I don't know whether that's in, but it would not surprise me with how Dan Quinn runs things if there's a lot of freedom, flexibility, and then ultimately out of it production for this D-line this year compared to the expectations, which I think for most people are pretty low. That's our pick 6 at 6. Biggest headlines, storylines, headlines, and highlights of the day, if you will, from Commanders mandatory minicamp. We will probably have a pick 6 tomorrow as well. It's a shorter practice. I don't know how much Quinn is going to have to say, but if there's interesting things to come out, we will let you hear them at 6 o'clock tomorrow evening. We'll spend a lot of tomorrow breaking down Game 3 of the NBA Finals. We'll spend the rest of the show today previewing it. Game 3, NBA Finals preview next on The Hoffman Show. NBA Finals, Game 3 tonight. ESPN, ABC have it. 8:30 it's the tip-off. Pacers hold home court. They're at home trying to hold on to it after pulling off the split in Oklahoma City. Tyrese Halliburton and company hosting Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and his company. Anthony, should be a fun one. I am very excited for it. And I'm especially excited for it because I feel like I have a different take on Game 2 than a lot of the analysis out there, which we talked about Monday after Game 2. But for those that didn't hear it, like, I actually don't think Game 2 was like this blowout, dominant OKC performance. They had one hell of a run in the second quarter where they went on, I believe it was a 17-2 run. And the game was fairly even outside of that, including the Pacers winning the second half. They had a nice little, run in the fourth quarter. Tyrese Halliburton got going a little bit. Was that because OKC took their foot off the gas? I think that is up for debate. But at the end of the day, like, Tyrese was able to find a couple things, and it was because the Pacers made a couple of changes. They got him on the move a little bit more. I'm curious to see if Oklahoma City comes pre-stacked for an answer tonight to that. But I do think for as good as Oklahoma City is, and they're real good, Indiana is going to make this tough. I think the crowd in Indy is going to be hellacious tonight in a good way, and I am very excited to watch Game 3.
I'm excited for Game 3 as well. I think this is a must-win for the Pacers, though, Craig. Again, my prediction before the series was OKC in 6. I think if the Pacers really want to make this interesting and push Game 7, I think they have to come out here and win Game 3. Just, get that confidence, get some momentum after, losing Game 2, and also just to, put, I guess, the pressure on OKC. I think OKC, they've been in a position where they were down 2-1 this postseason. They were down 2-1 against the Nuggets, and I feel like, they were able to figure some stuff out, adjust, and then, ultimately win in 7. So I'm not concerned about them being down a game. I think for the Pacers, though, I don't think they can afford to lose 2 straight and go down 2-1 on their home court.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you for obvious reasons that it is way better for Indiana for them to win tonight than lose tonight. But I heard, Zach Lowe was talking about this on his show, and he's like, I kind of think, I like the way he put it. If you're rooting for a long series, it's a lot better if Indiana wins tonight. Because even if you lose Game 4, you go back Game 5, now you've at least, if you win tonight, you've guaranteed Game 6, unless you win it in 5, right? That's the nature of how that math works. But is there a huge difference in Game 3 versus Game 4? If OKC wins tonight, Indiana bounces back, and they go back to Oklahoma City 2-2, okay. It's 2-2 either way. The momentum's going to feel different. But, in some ways, you'd be like, I don't know. They figured out game, they lose a tight one tonight. They win it in Game 4. Are you like, I don't know. They got the momentum going into Oklahoma City. They just won the last game versus how do we feel if they lose Game 4 and they're going back to Oklahoma City having just lost? I almost feel like in some ways that's worse. Just tonight gets them a second to breathe. It takes the pressure off of Game 4, where you go into that one and you feel like you're playing maybe a little bit more with house money, where it's like, man, if we win this, we're up 3-1 in the NBA Finals. And then the pressure is on Oklahoma City for 3 straight games to try to undo that hole. And that's scary for a young team. So no doubt, is it must win? No, of course not. The only truly must win is if you are, facing elimination. No one's facing elimination tonight. It's 1-1. But the tenor of the series of, hey, this is not the 0-1 76ers. Remember the Lakers-Sixers series? AI goes bonkers in Game 1, hits the step over Ty Lue deal. You remember how that series ended, Anthony?
Yep.
It was a 4-1 Lakers win.
Yep.
The other one that folks have referenced is the 91 Bulls-Lakers series. Magic and company come in as the underdogs against Michael Jordan and the Bulls. This is ultimately the Bulls' first title. The Lakers won Game 1, and then they lost in 5. And that is just off the table. The idea of that, hey, this is a dominant OKC team and it's going to go bad for Indiana, but thanks for playing. Thanks for making this at least a little bit interesting. That is off the table tonight. And you can really start to believe, even though I think the belief for this Indiana team is actually pretty high.
Yeah. I mean, I think if Tyrese Halliburton can impact the game a little bit more than he has the first two games, I think this is a different series. And maybe I would even start to believe, that the Pacers can actually win this thing. But it's the fact that, I don't know, the pressure that they put on him the first two games, I think has sort of kind of gotten to him. He hasn't been aggressive. He hasn't attempted a free throw this series, Craig, at all. So
can we pause on the Tyrese Halliburton aggressive thing?
Okay.
Because I felt like a crazy person watching that first game. And then I listened to a couple of different, people that I respect, including Lowe, break it down. And I felt less crazy. Because, yes, was Tyrese Halliburton aggressive in that he was shooting? No. But the way Oklahoma City played him, he made a lot of the right reads. They played him to be a passer and say, hey, you're going to have to have your teammates beat us. And he got his positions or his teammates in good positions and they missed shots or they made bad reads, whatever. But Tyrese Halliburton did what you want basketball players mostly to do, which is, can we take what the defense gives us?
Isn't this the same criticism Anthony Edwards got, though, for making the right basketball play and not attempting enough shots?
I think you have to look at it as the team, who their teammates are matter. Indiana's played this way all year.
That's fair.
And I think that there is wiggle room within that and be like, okay, against most teams, right, we're going to still hunt the three. If I am a ball handler and I come off a pick and roll and I have the option to either take a 17-foot pull-up jump shot, a shot that used to be the core of what basketball was, but it has been dead since the 2014-ish, right? And I can take that shot, or I can pass off, keep the ball moving, and try to, we get a ping, ping, ping 3. The right move against most teams is to just pass the ball. And I think this is where we redefine what it means to be aggressive, right? I think Tyrese Halliburton in this series against this team should just take the jump shot. He's a good enough mid-range shooter. In fact, he's an excellent mid-range shooter. And Oklahoma City is locked in on their rotations, so you're probably not going to get a good 3. And that subtle difference is the difference between sounding smart at the water cooler or sounding like somebody forgot to mute first take. It's not about you've got to be more aggressive. It's, hey, they're giving you two options, and typically you are aggressively taking the correct option. You are passing the ball, getting it moving. You're letting everybody touch it. You're doing the right thing. Except for against this team, we need you to shoot. And if you want to define aggressive as you need to shoot more, that's where he can be aggressive. What would be bad for Tyrese Halliburton, I think, is just aimlessly driving into the trees. Don't go down there where all them arms are just so you can pick up fouls. And if you get a couple, great. Now, do I think he needs to get downhill? Yes. Do they need to touch the paint more? Yes. But it's not because I guess my pushback is I think Halliburton has done probably what his coaches have asked. I think they need to change what they're asking him to do, and that will wind up looking like it is more aggressive.
Okay. Well, I think you just made the point that I wanted to make in terms of not even just getting to the basket, at least getting your feet in the paint.
Yes.
He's on the perimeter at all times. There's a couple of times he's near half court. He's starting the offense so far back, and it's because of the pressure of OKC. But again, if he can just, I don't know, he doesn't have the Kyrie Irving package where he can get by a defender and make a move and things.
They got to get him on the move, and whether it's dribble handoffs, whether it's pin downs. Yeah. I think it was Danny Green. It might have been UD, one of the two former players that was on NBA Today. Made a really good point that Oklahoma City, they'll switch a ton of stuff with 1 through 4. So potentially look for a lot of 1-5 pick and roll where they're going to play that drop coverage. And now we're getting in that pocket that I talked about, right?
Yeah.
Or if you got the drop coverage just means if you're the big who's guarding the screener, you're dropping back into the paint. Tyrese might be able to get the pull-up three, but at the very least, he can probably, if his guy is going over and kind of making it so that, hey, I'm going to challenge this three from the side, the pocket is going to be that 17 to 20-foot two-point shot, which is not as efficient unless you make it all the time. And I think Tyrese needs to aggressively look for that. But I guess my thing is when I hear, oh, he's not aggressive enough, it makes it sound like he's standing in the corner all the time. He's not doing that. He's involved. It's just he's not shooting and they're not touching the paint enough. And to the paint stat, this was a crazy stat that I'm forgetting who the guy from The Ringer who Zach Lowe had on had, that the number of possessions that are touching the paint for Indiana in this series, it's like 52%. The Celtics were the worst in the league this year, which is also funny because they were one of the best teams in the league in the regular season. They were at 54. Indiana's typically in the 60s.
Dang.
So Oklahoma City is doing a remarkable job of keeping them out of the paint, and it's up to Rick Carlisle and his staff to unlock how to get in the paint. And that, to me, is the key tonight. The other key, real quick, as we're running out of time here, how many shots does Siakam get? Because he wants to get his shots out in transition. He only had 11 in Game 2, and he was only 3 of 11. If he can get out in transition more and steal a couple of buckets at home, get the energy, the turnovers, all that kind of stuff, and you get him out and he's taken 15 shots, I think the Pacers have a fantastic chance tonight. That's the other key for me, is how it's not aggressive Siakam is. It's how often is he able to aggressively leak out in transition. And that is something that I'm definitely watching for tonight.
Yeah, I think him and Miles Turner. I think Miles Turner ability to trust the floor, but Siakam also just has to be quick because, again, like they're going to allow Caruso to play on one-on-one, but sometimes they're bringing that extra guy, and it sort of kind of looks like OKC has 6 defenders on the court because of the way they rotate. So when he does get the ball on the post, if it's not in transition, he has to be quick and very decisive because OKC is just that good defensively.
That's the thing. Decisive is a better word to me than aggressive. Aggressive has a recklessness to it. I want you to be decisive. I want you to know exactly what you're trying to do, get there, do it, make the right decision. And for Pascal Siakam, that's going to be occasionally taking Caruso and just trying to put him in the basket as fast as you possibly can. All right, that is our NBA Finals preview. Real things real people said into real microphones, including one of the most savage things I've ever heard. Next on the Team 980, but first a look at what's trending. Wrapping up here on the Hoffman Show. Team 980 always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Streaming live on YouTube too at the Team 980. Tomorrow on the show, Take Command recap of minicamp. Logan and I record that in the morning. We'll share something with you here in the afternoon. Never read the comments tomorrow morning as well. I'm sure, or tomorrow afternoon as well. I'm sure we will have some thoughts on the Terry McLaurin contract negotiations. That's been a hit on YouTube this week. Anything else we got stacked up? Game 3 review tomorrow, obviously, of the NBA Finals. What else we got, Anthony? Pretty good show, actually.
Maybe Cincinnati.
Oh, yeah. There's a chance we got I got to call up my guy Mo Egger, ESPN 1530 in Cincinnati, because what a wacky the Bengals are having this offseason. Oh, man. They wanted a no-drama offseason. How's that going? Your rookie's calling you out. Yikes. All right, so that's all tomorrow. As for wrapping up today.
Real things.
We're not going to be so this year.
Real people.
5-11, not very good.
Said into real microphones.
You know, the culture is actually damn good.
All right, I promise one of the most savage things I've ever heard, and I love this kind of confidence. Midge Purse, Silver Spring, Maryland's very own, U.S. Women's National Team member, Gotham FC forward, SI swimsuit model, Harvard graduate. I start reading off all of those things, Anthony, and you might understand why Midge Purse said this while on a panel this weekend.
I feel like I live with constant imposter.
So this is the moderator of the panel, and then Midge will come in with the haymaker that you will quickly understand who Midge Purse is.
I feel like I live with constant imposter syndrome, that I will be in that room and I'll be like, I don't belong here. What am I doing here?
Really?
Like, oh yeah.
That's so interesting because I feel like I walk into rooms and I'm like, you don't belong.
Oh my gosh.
She is. That's Midge Purse in a nutshell.
Gotta love it.
Hold on, I need to play it again because right
I feel like
here,
I live with constant imposter syndrome, that I will be in that room and I'll be like, I don't belong here. What am I doing?
Did you hear it in the background? That, oh, you heard like the gasp in the back. That was Midge, because that concept is so foreign to her that she like doesn't comprehend what that must be like.
Here.
Really?
Like, oh yeah.
That's so interesting because I feel like I walk into rooms and I'm like, you don't belong.
I get it.
Good stuff.
You ever walk? Which feeling do you get more? You walk into rooms and you're like, I don't belong here. Or you walk into rooms and you're like, you don't belong here.
Probably the former.
Yeah, I still feel like I've walked into more rooms where I'm like, how did I wind up here? Not necessarily that I don't belong. It's that to me is more of like, how did I wind up here?
Yeah.
What on earth did I do to get into this room? Here we are. Let's go.
Nah, for real.
All right. Josh Allen. Actually, should we do the Josh Allen one? I'm gonna have to save the Z one. It's too long. I feel like the Orioles ball boy one is pretty long too. Do we have? Oh, we can do the Orioles one.
Two.
Let's do the Orioles ball boy one. Kevin Brown and company on Masson yesterday during the Orioles game, and things didn't go great as a foul ball went down the left field line.
3-2 coming. Breaking ball down to third, foul. Oh no. Oh no.
The oh no for
Love the effort though.
Diving ball boy that missed the ball.
Don't worry about it, buddy. Nobody saw it. Nobody saw it.
A few moments later.
Ground ball. Oh, here we go.
Redemption.
Nailed it.
Oh,
no! You cannot be serious.
Booted it.
It is not his day.
Not
Fool
the
me once,
booze.
He was
shame
gonna
on you.
look. He was gonna snap this one. Look, he was gonna snap it just missed it. Stay hot.
We get this guy set up with Cal.
It looked like a routine, you know.
It was a soft dribbler, man. You got to look that one into the glove. The first one, like, respect the diving effort.
Yeah.
The second one, that's little league material right there.
The thing is, though, we've seen professional players also have those kind of errors, so I'll give him a pass. Outing for the guy.
Sure, he's not a professional, but like, that's a rough one.
Yeah.
It's your job out there, ball boy. We got to. Orioles might be having ball boy. Then again, the Orioles might be having a lot more than the ball boy auditions the way their season's going. All right, that's our show. We'll see you tomorrow here on the Team 980.